anyone even see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, but Chris, we're like sitting on top of it.
Alright, you wanna
To start off. Okay, so we had the macaroni grill, obviously. And it was an interesting, different approach than I think the McDonald's because it's a totally different type of experience. And so, from our best recollection, we kind of started brainstorming all the different things, and the restaurant seemed very understated. They didn't have a whole lot of billboard signage. They didn't have a whole lot of signage even right off of the freeway, anything like that. It seems that their signage was directly in front of the restaurant, ground level, if not just on their wall. And so it seemed to be very understated. A lot of the buildings are not very marked. They seem pretty typical where, a lot of fast food restaurants are bright colors and big, eccentric architectural accents and things like that.
I think as opposed to McDonald's, which is more of like maybe an impulse, where you see a sign, you're like, oh, McDonald's. This is more of a destination, okay, it's my sister's birthday, we need to take her out for dinner, where should we go? It was my graduation, let's call up the grandparents, that sort of thing. This is more of a destination, so they don't really need to put like huge signs off of the roadway. A macaroni grill is almost always inside of like a plaza or shopping center that has other restaurants nearby. So I don't think that it needs to compete. It doesn't feel like it needs to compete with all these other restaurants by having big flashy signs. It's just, you have a macaroni grill sign, you can see it from the parking lot. And you go.
We started kind of exploring upon entering into the restaurant. Since it is a destination, it's less. I mean, I think they use that dramatization a lot in their lighting and their music and kind of that atmosphere rather than the pop wow effect. So it seems that they're very dim lit. They're dark, woodsy, kind of wood and stone. I think I remember a lot of like stonework all around it. So almost like you're in a wine cellar. And I think that's what they're going for. One of their slogans, what was it, like
fresh, simple, authentic.
Yeah, they want to go for this like authentic Italian experience. Whether they achieve that fully or not, that's what they're going for.
So then moving on to interactions. Basically, like if you have to, as soon as you open the doors, in order to get down to the maitre d' or the hostess and the waiting area, you have to go down some steps. So it's kind of like you're descending into maybe like a wine cellar sort of thing, and it's very dimly lit. And you hear like the like Italian music playing, and you see like wine bottles decorating. So I thought that was interesting that immediately you have to go down the stairs. And then, so it's dark and almost dramatic, kind of playing off the dramatization. It's like, oh, welcome to a little taste of Italy right here in your hometown, that sort of thing. And it's like, it allows you to feel kind of classy without having to actually be classy. I mean, you don't really have to dress up. You don't have to wear like a shirt tie or anything. So it kind of gives you this, again, like, oh, a little taste of Italy. And then, it's really approachable. You can take anywhere from like your kids, you can take your grandparents, everywhere in between. They're singing and like kind of entertainment. Like people will come around singing Italian songs. And let's see, the server, first thing, they'll write their name upside down right in front of you on the table because the tables are covered in butcher's paper. Which is a little interesting because you think of like a classy restaurant would have like nice wood tables, but they have these nice wood tables, but then they're just covered in butcher's paper, and then you can give your kids crayons and everyone can draw on it. And there's again singing. They right away they'll ask you if you want the house wine, and they'll bring out a bottle of Chianti. And if you say yes, they just plop it down on the table, and then you just let them know how many drinks you poured yourself. So I think that's it's very friendly, feels Italian, like, oh, here, have a bottle of wine, like right when you walk in. And then again, very friendly. You get the free bread and the olive oil with the balsamic vinegar, and right away on your table. It's really delicious. It's a very open environment. You see the kitchen, you see the guys running back and forth. And then if you go into the bathroom, this is the weirdest thing. If you go into the bathroom, on the stereo, it'll be like, hello, like, ciao. And it'll tell you like how to say different words in Italian. So kind of strange. And then another interesting interaction point is you can actually build your own pasta, and they give you a little checklist, and you kind of fill it out, and then hand it back to the server. Relationships.
Just kind of looking at a lot of the relationships, we kind of touched on it in like in the interaction points, but I think they want to have their servers by writing their name on the table and by allowing you to to draw on it, and to them offering you that wine, and I think they offer you cracked pepper on everything, and they come over and they they put Parmesan and they put cracked pepper on all of your meals for you. It's that hospitality, like we're serving you, we're friends, we're family, we're gonna do this for you. As far as looking at like future external business opportunities that they have, certain locations have catering, and I think it's interesting to have a restaurant that has catering, because that takes that experience completely away from their restaurant, and it's a little less controlled, I think, but that is something that they do offer.
And then they say come back soon. So I think that's pretty standard. And then finally, their products is Italian food or Mediterranean cuisine also. Again, they offer the product of a catering service, and they also have a bar that you can sit down at. Although, from my experience, not a lot of people are just hanging out at the bar. Maybe if it's packed, you go and grab a glass of wine before you sit down or something while you wait for your table. They offer you the experience, the opportunity to take a night out and then have hospitality on them. And then, kind of looking at our quick diagram, I guess I could zoom in on this one. So the dotted line is kind of the context in which the restaurant is placed, and that's the plaza, and there's always other places in there. And then you see that there's a big arrow shooting out to the top right, and that's their catering. So it's not in the context of the plaza anymore. And we didn't really touch on that experience too much, but it does have to do with some of their aspects. So, Ryan, you want to talk about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as far as the diagram, it's super simple. But that I think something that they emphasize is that entrance and exit point. It is that dramatized. You're walking down. It's either a slope or some steps, and it seems everyone's feeling about it is that it was very dim lit when you first walk in. It's almost like they had less lighting specifically at the entrance than they do in the rest of the restaurant, to give you this kind of entering into their wine dungeon, their wine cellar. So it seems like they are focusing on their experience with that entrance and with that music and kind of the quirks of the audio in the bathroom and things like that, and that a lot of the main interaction points and the main relationship points are happening in that dining area rather than at a hostess stand, or rather than in the kitchen. It's like the interactions all happening at your tables.
I think we found even the commercials reflected that, because the commercial is just a white table with a bottle of oil and a big plate of steaming food with the sound of people eating in the background.
That's it.
And that's all it says, is it tells you what the food is and how much it costs.
One thing you guys forgot to mention too is they have open kitchen, so you can kind of see your food being made.
It was up there.
All right. Well, I didn't hear you guys mention
Did
it.
they do open bottle at Macaroni Grill? Bring you out a big bottle of wine and you just tell me how much you had and you're done?
So
Well, he said that, yeah.
Did you guys do that?
Yeah.
I was flooding me.
I'm gonna have to go there now, though.
Thursdays are half price bottle night, if anyone wants to know.
They what? On
Thursdays are
Thursdays?
half price bottle night.
That's right.
I'm
Oh,
there.
really?
Yeah. So if you can buy a bottle of wine and you get half
You
price.
can just go after this class.
So you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're
Thursday nights
open.
usually.
Right. Probably doesn't start till 4 or something. I didn't
I start
know.
drinking
So you go there a lot, obviously.
Yeah. I do, actually. It's my family's favorite restaurant, so
Oh.
we always go
So we
there.
really should have had her on.
Well, I think the other thing
Yeah.
was, the price point, I think, is reasonable.
Yeah.
That was one of the other things.
I think you sort of mentioned that a little bit, but I think it's to the point where, there's a competitive other set of restaurants that are there, but I'm not sure if they're all, or maybe a pizza place or something, all in the same realm. But and I think the portions are large enough where you can almost share them with, because it is that family style.
It isn't family, Macaroni Grill isn't family style, so it's not like Johnny Carino's or things like that. You could share if you wanted, they do have big portions,
Yeah.
but that's not the intention, I don't think. It's
Okay.
from what I like my experiences, it's not
Yeah.
family style.
I would say Olive Garden is their main competition.
Yeah.
I'd say they're positioning themselves, to be.
Good point.
We are a better experience than Olive Garden, but we're cheaper than Maggiano's or Buca de Beppo's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or it's real famous.
And it is interesting, Italian is just this everyday. I mean, it's hard to find somebody who doesn't like Italian.
Yeah, it's like a steak.
Okay, who doesn't like Italian?
Italian women.
I love Italian, but I can't eat it.
But you're a
Like the
McDonald's.
smaller?
Yeah, I don't.
No good.
I'm not like this.
Tyler doesn't like
Anything else you guys thought about?
I think mentioning that price point and like where they sit in that market is interesting. And I've noticed that they're usually around other restaurants or other things that are in there. They're usually around like a Chili's or like
Right.
Applebee's or Olive Garden. They're all in that kind of you can come in and sit down. You're gonna get catered. You're gonna get catered to, but it's still not.
Well, they're part of that whole like corporate conglomerate.
Yeah, they're
Like
industrial with
we
Chili's and
build
all
these
over.
pods and we transplant them into different like areas throughout the country.
Like Belmar.
They
Well,
don't
it's
have
true.
one.
Yeah, like the developer who
No,
builds
they have
those
John
like
Deere.
has contract with all those businesses that go in there, and that's why you see the same 10, 12 businesses in every single fake, downtown little area.
Well, it's and I didn't actually know this until we worked with a company in Dallas when I was there, and I didn't realize that Dallas is the sort of the test center for almost any restaurant.
So is DC.
So this is, so there's probably places like that. So there's a large conglomerate, and what they do is they'll take Macaroni Grill and put it out in some kind of urban area, not where, as you guys identified, you're right, this is normally in a sea of other restaurants, so you have to make a choice. This is all kind of separate. And then they test this thing for a year or two, just to make sure that everything, they change the menu, whatever it might be. Then they start to move it out into, the rest of the world. Because the interesting thing was, on the opposite end, Red Robin came from here. Actually, Red Robin came from Seattle, but it's here and it's in a number of other places. And the only reason I know is because the University of Washington used to be. It was the first Red Robin. Sawdust on the floor, that kind of thing. And we actually went to a Dallas Red Robin. It is the worst hamburger I've ever had, and that's why you go there. What is Red Robin? That's now, of course, there are a lot of other things. We actually called the manager. So we have 5 of us eating a hamburger, 5 different hamburgers. And this guy came out, and he says, "Yeah, I know what you're gonna say." It says the hamburgers suck, and this is a hamburger place.
It's weird in Texas
And
too.
he said, "I don't know what it is, but we're not able to make these hamburgers the way, Red Robin wants them because I can only hire people from Texas or something." It was some kind of weird, explanation,
That's weird.
And he gave us all new hamburgers or something, but it was like,
Is that
And
two bad hamburgers?
yeah, it was just so ridiculous. And 2 months later, they closed it. So it could be just because of the market and the people and the diversities of thing, but it's very interesting. Anyway, the other key thing I didn't think you guys were going to get was the entry. So there's one individual that we met. All he does is travel around the country, picks a location from one of the restaurants that's going to go, and then they build it. And I said, "Well, where's your next, location?" And he said, "Seattle." Well, I'm from Seattle, and I'm thinking, "Well, where's it going to be in Seattle?" And he says, "Well, where we can have the entrance be, focused down. It has to be on this almost like a hill. They didn't want to dig too deep. It was really weird. It was all based around what you guys just talked about." He said that is the key piece of design for that particular restaurant. That doesn't mean all the other ones are doing this, because I think Carino's. Did you mention Carino's? That's another one of the chain of restaurants. But he said exactly like you guys identified. It's like entering a wine cellar. And if you notice, they used to have food sort of in the
Display
these
case.
glass containers. I think they maybe took that
I
out.
think that I haven't seen that.
And the open kitchen is another big thing.
Yeah.
And the looseness of drawing on the table, crayons, and it turns out, a lot of people use it. It's not just kids. You guys are probably all drawing.
I do it.
Yeah.
I do.
Every
So,
With every place like
and
John.
it gets to be a point of discussion. I do think the music is another piece, and you're right. The Italian language thing in the bathroom is so bizarre.
But you remember it.
I don't forget it, and so they've really thought of a lot of stuff. So it's interesting that they're going into Mediterranean, But when you think about all of these aspects, I think from a system, it's not as complex, obviously, at McDonald's, but as a destination, I do think the worst thing they have is signage. I cannot tell you what that dimensional typeface is. Can you?
No.
Or I don't even.
The
I think
weird
it's cap
sans
M
serif
lowercase.
script.
Yeah, we could
Yeah.
all of us could barely remember it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and it's on that piece of stone, and from that point on, I never really see what that is, and I look at what you guys have talked about, which is rustic, the menus, simple. The build your own is actually a really interesting idea, and the trust in the wine thing is like amazing. It's like, well, just tell us how many glasses you had. So I'll have 3, and I'll always say, well, I only had 1. The guy looks at me. I said, I have 3 down there. Come on. You saw the
Little
number.
line on the wall.
I'll circle it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, they probably have some laser thing where they're, measuring.
You go weigh it.
But it's really bizarre that I don't know. Are there other places you guys have been to that do that?
Here's our alcohol. Have as much
Yeah.
as you want.
It's just pretty wild.
Well,
that-
technically by law, you're not allowed to do that. So
Oh, really?
I don't know how they get away with that.
Oh,
I was a
interesting.
bartender for 7 years. You're not allowed to serve yourself in an establishment.
Wow.
So it doesn't make any sense to me.
But
It
Well,
varies
it's-
state by
it's-
state.
It varies by state, yeah, but it's like a federal law. It's not just
Well, I
a
think it's
state.
different when you buy a bottle of wine though, like if they set it down on the table, you can drink it as much as you want, 'cause it's just like you bought a bottle of beer, you drink that yourself.
Yeah, but that's like you down in the bottle and getting inebriated. You're not supposed to get inebriated at an establishment.
They don't.
They passed the you can recork your wine bottle and take it home with you.
No,
if
yeah,
you
that's
buy
fine.
Yeah.
They have done that.
They don't
Yeah.
always give you the wine bottle though. Like sometimes they will. Like I think they're supposed to, or that's what they'll set down the wine bottle on or the Chianti bottle on your
I'm not giving that to you.
restaurant. But sometimes they'll take it away, and then like when you need it, they'll refill it for you. And then
Oh.
they'll ask you. They don't keep track of it. They'll ask you at the end always, like, oh, how many did you have?
Yeah.
How drunk are you?
Anyway, I think that's a huge thing. I think I call them human singers. I mean, these are just people that sing. But that's a very personal connection.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, and it used to be, you'd think it was only, of course it got to be good, otherwise, you wouldn't go back, right? But it's the birthday thing is one, but I think the other one is it's usually just a very cool little song that,
They often
They
sing
do.
the songs wrong though. Like the birthday Tanti Auguri, they'll sing it. They'll sing it like Spanish and Italian. Like it's really weird.
oh my
Like when
God.
I'm singing it, because I lived in Italy, so I like know the song.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there thinking like they did it wrong. Like.
Oh, wow.
And yeah,
You wanna sing it for us?
Do it.
I can. Tanti Auguri ati, Tanti Auguri ati, Tanti Auguri a, so and so, Tanti Auguri ate.
Hey, way to go.
I'm not the best singer, but there you go. So.
Um,
Got on tape.
so,
Yes.
for me, I think it's again with a few of the build your own, trust, all this other stuff. They're really trying to connect you into a great experience. I guess the same could be for Olive Garden. There's just something weird about Olive Garden. I've only been there.
What's that family thing?
Maybe,
Being
I mean,
in their house.
microwave their food.
I think they're missing the.
They're just not
They've brought themselves down or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like they
really know.
don't
They're-
actually cook their food. They microwave it. They boost it.
Oh,
in
come
like
on.
a super microwave.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Really?
that's not good.
Yes.
Tastes pretty good to me.
Well, the other thing is that you actually can buy macaroni grill olive oil. You can buy their
Really?
wine, the jugged wine, and you can buy the homemade pasta if you want. And I actually, I think we did buy, this was a while ago, maybe they don't do that anymore, but I know they had some ravioli thing. You could,
Yeah.
and I said, no, I don't want anything else, I just want the raviolis. I'll put my own sauce.
They have a grocery store
Yeah,
one
they have
now
a-
too.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
and now they're
I've
moving
never had
into
it.
this whole microwave
Yeah.
or steamed
Gallon.
kind of thing. So that's a product actually, yeah, the whole food area I think is really good. I think that's, and they're actually, I think the advertising is really, certainly the way they're handling it on TV is really pretty good, because it's not, it covers a lot of the things we just talked about, but it is all about that food and the atmosphere, you know, which really turns out pretty good. And I have to say, it's never been a bad experience. It's hard to, and you know, everybody waits for that bread. And then you get another one if you want it. And why would you eat anything else, right?
And when you
'Cause
get it
they're
to
huge.
go, they'll give you like 1 or 2 loaves, like in your to go, like when you drive up and.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the to-go is another actual huge,
Yeah.
when you think of McDonald's, it's all to-go, right? In a sense. But the to-go market is enormous. That's right. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, and so.
As a product, I think that's another one, and I think people want to see the macaroni grill bag,
Yeah.
you know, as you're buying it. So I think that's really pretty good. I was just trying to think if there was anything else, but oh, the other thing you didn't mention is the bar. They have a bar.
He mentioned the bar.
You did.
He said that you hardly ever see people just hanging out.
They
at
don't
the
put
bar.
it in a
It's
good
not like-
location.
It's
No,
also
I
back
think
in the corner
no,
of
no,
the
but I
bar.
think it's more and more now because the waiting becomes the bar overflow kind of thing. If you're waiting even with family, you can have. Of course, all my kids can drink now, so they're all with.